Well, hello, our fellow friends, our fellow neighbors, and our fellow shining stars. Our next trolley stop is here, and our next trolley stop is now. Welcome back to another all-new episode of PR from the Heart's children's book spotlight series. To be precise, we have reached the 159th trolley stop. That is episode number 159 of the children's book spotlight series, the conclusion of our month-long celebration of the 4-year anniversary of the Children's Book Spotlight series. Thank you for spending some time with us here in our neighborhood here at PR from the Heart. My name is John Masiulionis, the manager of PR from the Heart. We really appreciate you not only spending some time with us here this week in our neighborhood, but spending some time with us all throughout the month of September. As we look yonder to the month of October, we're still immersed in the back-to-school season for our little ones, and I do believe now we're starting to hear those jingle bells. They're going to be a little bit more prominent sooner than we know, but we are almost in the midst of the beginning of our holiday season at PR from the Heart. And we also just wrapped up National Dog Week. Raise your hand if you are a fan of furry friends. If you own a furry friend, if you have a furry friend that's a friend in your life, but you're not the owner of your furry friend. The relationship between humans and dogs goes back generations. It goes back a long period of time. And if you ever notice when you're moving through something, it could be just a bad day. It could be what some people might refer to as the dark night of the soul. If you're going through a very intense challenge on your end of things, the unconditional love that we receive from dogs specifically, it's something that truly helps us. And it actually helps us in our healing as well, too. And when it comes to fear, we all move through the human experience. We can have fears and anxieties and challenges and difficulties. We can range through the whole scope of human emotions and feelings. But thanks to one of our new furry friends and one of our new neighbors here at PR from the Heart, we are reminding all of you that you are not alone on your end of things, and that if your furry friend is here, then you have no fear. I encourage all of you, our listeners and viewers, our friends and neighbors, and of course our fellow shining stars, to head on over to the official website of our featured guest here on episode number 159 of the Children's Book Spotlight series, dogsAreGoodPeople.com, and that is R spelled with the letter R instead of A-R-E. You can also head on over to Amazon.com and purchase your copy of Frankie, the Biggest Dog That Ever Was. If Amazon is your preferred online vehicle of your choosing, you can leave a 5-star review, as that is one of the many ways that you can pledge your support for our featured guest here on episode number 159 of the Children's Book Spotlight series to help us close out the 4-year anniversary celebration of this program that we've been celebrating over the course of not only this past month, but the past 4 years. The trolley heads out from San Diego, California, just right outside of Baltimore, Maryland. So we're racking some mileage here this week on the Children's Book Spotlight series. Children's author, the author who has brought Frankie, the Biggest Dog That Ever Was, to life, Joe Wateski, is joining us as our featured guest here on the program this week. Joe, we appreciate you spending some time with us here in our neighborhood. How are things with you in the Baltimore, D.C. area this week?
It has just been a beautiful weekend here in Baltimore. I had a chance to visit the ocean with my family yesterday, and I was at the SPCA Walk for the Animals in Annapolis, Maryland this morning. Wonderful turnout. It's the biggest single fundraising event that they have for the Anne Arundel County SPCA. And John, I got to tell you, it is just a blast to go there. We have been going there as a family for years and years. This is the first year that I was there as a vendor with Frankie and talking to people about their dogs and talking to people about their children. And something about this event, it's like the dogs know that everybody is there for them today. You can see it in their posture and in the way that they glide and their body movements and body language. It's just a wonderful event, very community oriented. All the dogs behave themselves. Everybody gets a chance to, interact with each other's dogs and, kids and whatnot. And it was just a really, really great event. I had a chance to meet a lot of people. Actually sold a lot of copies of Frankie, but I got to tell you, the single biggest moment of the vending today at the Walk for the Animals, I had a chance to donate a book. There was a woman there from Children's National Hospital in Washington, D.C. And that was really, really great, and you get a chance to, because that's what I want to do. I want to get the message of Frankie, his message of courage and kindness and, bravery and being, everything that you could be and not letting fear get in the way of living your life. There's a lot of things in Frankie. Every chapter has a life lesson in it. Really want to talk to the kids in the hospitals and the parents of those kids. And, being here on PR with the Heart is a wonderful vehicle to help me do that. So thank you.
And one of the things is that Joe and I have been in communication for actually several years. So one of the things that, we're going to be sharing with you as one of the key heartfelt themes and messages is that, good things happen to those who wait. And sometimes the best things in life happen in perfect and divine timing. I know that one of the things currently, while we're recording this episode here at the end of September of 2022, I'm actually in the process to begin looking for my first furry friend, my first actual dog that I've had in a long period of time, not just necessarily a family pet, but my very own furry friend. So good things do happen to those who wait. And if you are already feeling inspired by what Joe and I are communicating and sharing with you, and most importantly, if you are a fan of furry friends, dogs, especially if you just had a wonderful and amazing National Pet Week, we encourage you, one of the many ways you can pledge your support for PR from the Heart and the Children's Book Spotlight series is to subscribe to our official YouTube channel and to share this very special trolley stop that is episode number 159 of the Children's Book Spotlight series, the conclusion of our 4-year anniversary celebration that we have been just enjoying over the course of this past month. Joe, whenever we start off a Children's Book Spotlight series episode, I always encourage an author, if they feel guided to do so, to share their origin story, to really when it first all began, when you knew in your heart that your purpose was here for not only children, but also dogs. But one of the things I also want to just mention is that you've overcome quite a bit in your life, and I give you so much credit for weathering various storms. That when you were 9, that you lost your home to flooding and 2 family dogs that you had perish. So my condolences to you on the passing of those pets that you had when you were growing up. So to kind of add on to like when you knew in your heart that your purpose was here for children and for dogs as well too, how did that experience when you were 9 really help to bring everything into perspective and really help to fuel your mission, your heart's and your soul's purpose that you're obviously fulfilling right now already at that very young age of 9?
I don't know if all of your followers and viewers are even going to believe what I'm about to tell them, but you're absolutely right. I mean, when you're 9 years old and your family loses the home to Hurricane Agnes, and the circumstances around that were such that my mom had a premonition that something terrible was going to happen, and my dad kind of went along with her, and we got out of our house, but we left everything behind because we truly felt that, we're going to be back there the next day. And we left 2 dogs behind. And, at 9 years old, I don't have any say in what's going on. And I wasn't really that scared because it didn't look like anybody else was scared about the situation. And later that night, the levee, the dike system in 44 Pennsylvania had breached. And it was a tremendous force of water coming through. And we weren't, one of the families that was waking up in the middle of the night by the National Guard saying, you got to get on these trucks and you got to get out of here right away. But, still, I think that event, when I look at my life, I find it very ironic that 2 dogs were taken from me by the Susquehanna River. And as an adult, here I am living near the Chesapeake Bay, an estuary that has been formed by the Susquehanna River. So it's almost like I came downstream to be with the souls of those that I lost at an early age. And then when you ask, at what age did you know you were going to be doing this? Here's the part that's almost unbelievable. I've always known that I was a good writer. I always knew that I had that in my back pocket. You know, I mean, in different jobs that I would have, you know, writing was always something that came easy to me. I remember when I was in 4th grade, I had written a story about a dog that my sister gave me after the flood, after we had lost the 2 dogs. She had given me Sean Donovan, a big old Irish setter. And at 4th grade, you know, I wrote this story and, you know, it got an A++. And my sister, my older sister, who's not necessarily easy to impress, told me, "You have it. Someday you're going to write a wonderful story. You're going to be a famous writer about, you know, writing a story about a dog," I think is what she said. And I carried it in my back pocket for 40 years. The opening phrase of Frankie, the biggest dog that ever was, "Believe in yourself from the start. Believe in the magic in your heart. Believe that you can make your dreams come true so that others will believe in you." John, I carried that with me in my back pocket for 25 years, give or take. That was told to me by a man that I shared the back of a Greyhound bus with, coming back from a Rush concert in Binghamton, New York. And we just had a chance to talk, and, you know, as a young, impressionable man, and, you know, this guy that was a stranger, just, you know, we got to talking and, you know, really connected and really bonded. And he left me with that. And I always felt I needed to share that saying. The meter is so perfect. The saying is so succinct, and it's inspirational. And if I knew his name, I'd thank him. But hopefully he'll see this and he'll come check me out and say, "Hey, I need $1 for that statement. Remember me from the bus?" And I'd love to give it to him. But in the meantime, the book, you know, that's the whole thing. It is the mostly incredibly true story of a little dog who believed he was big. And just like the Charlie Brown series, you know, we all go through life wanting to be big, but life is big, and life sometimes pushes back at you. And to find the courage to go through different things, and we're all going to go through something, but to have that inner faith in yourself and in your God, and you know, doing what you need to do, I think that's a commonality. And I think dogs, you had mentioned, you know, they go back generations, I think. I'll go one better. They predate the relationship between dogs and humans predates civilization itself. They have always been our eyes and ears. They watch out for us in ways that we can't watch out for ourselves. And like I tell people every day, you can learn a lot from a dog. A dog, first off, a dog has no regrets of yesterday. They have no worries of tomorrow. They live in the here and now. Is that a lesson that is not such a bad idea to try to incorporate in our own daily lives, and just be in the here and now? You know, Frankie has a saying, "If I'm here, then I have no fear. I'm me, and that's all I need to be." John, that was one of the surprises about this book. It's a children's book. I get emails fairly regularly from the parents who have bought this for their children saying, "I know it's a kid's book, but I find myself repeating phrases from the book myself. I liked it. I got something out of it." And at the end of the day, we're all children. I mean, I never grew up. I admit that. My wife knows it. My kid will tell you, "Yeah, Dad's still just a big kid." But I think we're all that way to some degree in our heart.
Well, I definitely think, and you touched upon several things that we'll further touch upon throughout the course of our time here together on episode number 159 of the Children's Book Spotlight Series, the importance of staying connected with our inner child. You know, for longtime viewers of the Children's Book Spotlight Series, one of our deepest sources of inspiration is that of Mr. Rogers, the host of the long-running children's television program, you know, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, that aired on PBS for many decades in the process. You had obviously one of the biggest challenges and tragedies that you had experienced was when you and your family lost your home to flooding at the age of 9, and your 2 family dogs had perished. When we move through the human experience, as I had alluded to beforehand, we can experience challenges, difficulties, obstacles, problems, stressors, troubles, and worries. When you knew that this book needed to come out, what were some of the initial things that you moved through in the process in terms of those primary challenges and difficulties? And what were some of the things that helped you to move through to the other side? Because obviously you're on the other side, because I'm obviously holding a copy of Frankie in my hand.
You know, if you talk to comedians a lot of times, they'll tell you that the reason they started a comedy routine was as a means of therapy for themselves, as a means of putting different things of their life into such a perspective that they could laugh about it. And laughter is really, really good medicine for the heart. It truly is. There are therapeutic benefits to laughing. So in much the way that, a comedian uses his craft for therapy for themselves, that's what I did with this book, because anybody who has ever lost a dog will tell you that it's just a brutal experience, and I had to come to terms with that, and everybody has to come to terms with that. My sister just lost her dog that she has had for 18 years. I spoke to her just the other day. So everybody has gone through that. A woman named Julie that I had done a podcast for a little while back in the United Kingdom, I think, said it most eloquently. She said, "Having a dog will bless you with some of the happiest days of your life, and also one of the worst. Because when the dog dies, you cannot be consoled. Nobody can say it's going to be okay, because at that moment, it's just not. Don't tell me that I'm going to be okay. I'm grieving and I'm, almost hysterical." So I had to try to put it in perspective for myself. And what I came up with was, you ask yourself the question, is your dog your best friend? Yeah, he's my best friend. Do you love your dog? I love that guy. I would do anything for him. And that's where the rub comes in, because anything can be unpleasant and anything can be heartbreaking. And you're watching your dog suffer day after day. And it's getting to the point where they don't want to eat and they don't want to move. And it hurts your heart. He's your best friend. You said you'd do anything for him. So that anything is literally, all right, I'm going to take your pain now. I'm going to lift it off of your shoulders. I'm going to lift it off of your body. I'm going to take away your pain. I'm going to hold it myself. That takes a lot of love, and that's what you do when you're a best friend. You say, you're more important than me. I don't want you in pain anymore. I'll be in pain. I'll let you go. And that's what you do, because you're your best friend. So that message had to get out there. At some point, this became a mission. Don't ever write a book. It will try your soul in ways that you can't even imagine. There were things that I needed to do to try to get, the final mile. I was watching, I remember, inspirational speeches from Denzel Washington, for example, and a couple of other ones that really struck home, because it was a mission. When I went to the library years ago and I said, do you have a book that I can give to my child, for someone who just lost the family dog? Librarians know their stuff, okay? They've been there a long time. They can usually go, oh, here you go. Here's one, here's two, here's three. She was on her Rolodex for nearly 5 minutes, came up with one title. And I got the book, and it was a lovely little book, and it talked about doggy heaven, and it was nice, but it really didn't go that deep. And I think what mine did particularly, because I covered some tough ground, and I needed to do that. I felt I needed to cover some ground. It's not all about the dog dying. It's a circle of life book. It's about the dog living. It's about the dog as a soul going from one world to another, just like we will. And I think that's something that a lot of your viewers will understand. Everybody's got a lot of different dogs, but there might be that one, they call it a heart dog, that you're looking forward to seeing when you leave this world for the next. And, I think I did a nice job with that in a number of different ways. And as I expressed it, I said, and every child's going to go through loss in their family, whether it's a dog, a relative, somebody. And I said something to the effect at the end of the book, if they love you, you can pass that love on to someone else.
That's true.
And in a way, they continue to live on through that person too. So that energy of a soul and the love the two souls have could be literally passed on to someone else. And that memory stays alive to some way. You know what I mean? It's a spiritual journey.
Very much so. And, Frankie, it felt like when I was reading your book, Frankie was just not a regular dog. And this is with all due respect to the regular dogs of the world, because they are needed, they are essential, they are oh so important, so to speak. But for those who are just learning about your journey, your story, and Frankie for the first point in time, could you share with us what made Frankie special and why you felt that he had to be at the centerpiece of this book?
I had mentioned earlier that dogs have always been our eyes and ears. And I think a lot of people believe that dogs see things that we don't, and they know things that we don't. Case in point, Frankie knew we were pregnant before we knew we were pregnant. I'm fairly certain of that. Just his behavior had changed in such a way that he knew that. Frankie lived to be 20 years, 4 months old. John, we had him for around 16 of those years. We had beds for him in a couple of different rooms in the house. He was a champion sleeper. He could sleep through thunderstorms, fireworks. Nothing bothered this dog. Didn't care. He'd sleep. In the 16 years that we had him, he woke us up with a nightmare one time in 16 years. The following day, we get a phone call. Our best friend, who had given him to us, his previous man, died of a heart attack that night. One nightmare in 16 years just happened to be the night that his previous master had died. You want to tell me that's a coincidence? Find me a bookie who'll take that bet. I don't think so. I think dogs know things. And as an author, you get a chance to talk to people who have read your book, and they'll talk about this or that. And they'll talk about their own experiences. I remember one woman, her mother was in hospice and had been there for a while. And her sister was coming to visit the mother. They were going to go. So the sister had traveled a great distance. The two women get together at the house, and they're catching up on things, and they're getting ready to go visit their mother in hospice in a little while. And out of nowhere, her dog starts howling and howling. And the dog is upset. It's crying. It's going back and forth between the two women, kissing their hands, trying to kiss their face, trying to console them somehow, some way. What's wrong with the dog? I don't know. Less than 20 minutes goes by. They get a phone call from hospice. Their mother had expired. And I hear these stories with regularity. So you ask me, why did I write a book about Frankie? Why do I think he was a special dog? Well, I learned a lot from him. And I learned that, yeah, dogs are a gift from God. They have the ability, and that's one of the things about one of the chapters. It talks about dogs have long been known to have this magical power to cheer people up who are feeling sad or lonely. And some dogs even visit people in hospitals to make them feel better. And some dogs can detect cancer. And I'll bet you there's nobody out in your audience who has not heard of a story somewhere where there was a child missing, wandered away from wherever. Everybody's looking for the child. The parents are starting to, get very frantic. Who finds the child? A lot of times it's a dog. The Lassie series was based on a lot of that, but a lot of those stories are true. And again, they predate civilization. The dog is always happy to see you. You're the dog's whole life. And, we have a lot of things going on in our lives. Our lives have changed over the millennia. The dog's life has not. He is still the same creature that God made him thousands and thousands of years ago. And, I think they're a gift from God. And Frankie especially. And we've got a great dog now, Bodie, who you might have heard earlier. He is such a good dog. He is just so well behaved. Everybody loves him. He's good looking and he knows it. But he's a great dog, and my daughter loves him.
Well, I also love, Joe, how you talk about how dogs are a gift from God, because if you ever notice, and many times I think that we do when we write the word dog, D-O-G, spelled backward is G-O-D. And that's oh so true in oh so many ways. Again, we encourage all of you, our listeners and viewers. We are very appreciative. We're very grateful for you spending some quality time with us here in our neighborhood. Episode number 159 of PR from the Heart's Children's Book Spotlight Series. We are joined by our featured guest, Joe Wateski, the author of the brand new children's book, Frankie, the Biggest Dog There Ever Was. You can head on over to Joe's official website. We encourage you to head on over to dogsaregoodpeople.com. That's dogs, the letter R, goodpeople.com, which we've included in the description below to keep things simple and streamlined for you, our listeners and viewers, our friends and neighbors, and of course, our fellow shining stars. And also, if you want to head on over to Amazon.com, if that is your preferred online vehicle of your choosing, you can leave a 5-star review for Frankie if you feel guided to do so. That's just one of the many ways that you can pledge your support for Joe to let him know that he's doing wonderful and much needed work for children, parents, families, educators, those who love great children's books, and of course, those who have a special place in their heart for our furry friends in the process. And we also do encourage all teachers, principals, and librarians all across the country, if you are interested in facilitating a virtual author visit with Joe as part of the new school year, dogsaregoodpeople.com. That's where you can connect with Joe as well. Now is the time in the Children's Book Spotlight series, Joe, where we dive into the pages of the newest heartfelt children's books from the shining stars in the kidlit community here at PR from the Heart. And of course, so now is the time that we dive into the pages of Frankie. One of the expressions that we always use here on the Children's Book Spotlight series, and this kind of sounds like a turn of the century expression. It kind of sounds like maybe a vaudevillian expression, but I always say, we don't like to give away the whole kit and caboodle, right? Because we obviously want, our listeners and viewers to be able to enjoy Frankie, to purchase Frankie, to either download their copy or purchase the physical copy. But could you give our listeners and viewers, our friends and neighbors, and of course, our fellow shining stars, a little bit of a glimpse what they'll actually see, feel, enjoy, and experience when they actually connect with the heart of Frankie and enjoy this beautiful and inspiring story?
I'd be happy to. Well, first off, I'm a father. And like I've said to so many people, it's not easy being a father, but it's great. And I love being a parent. One of the things that I need to point out right away is that my daughter, Jordan, who is actually mentioned in the book, actually did 3 of the illustrations when she was only 6 years old. I don't know if you could see that one, but she is a very, very good artist. And she did 3 of the illustrations when she was only 6. And being a parent, I'm sensitive to parents. So every parent has gone through the situation where it's already 20, 30 minutes past the child's bedtime, and you want them to go to sleep, and they want you to read a story or read them a little bit. There's a chapter where all Frankie wants to do is take a nap. So finally, at the end of that chapter, he gets to close his eyes, and that's just a natural, wonderful little chapter to read in that circumstance. But John, I made it so that every chapter could be read in 5 to 10 minutes. There's about an hour's worth of reading altogether, and it's a circle of life story. Every chapter has a life lesson in it, whether it's how to love, how to make a friend, how to be brave, how to cope with change, a lot of things that the kids are going to go through. Every child is going to go through this. Every adult is going to go through this. I've had people tell me, I really, really like that book. It's a child's book, I get it, but maybe it speaks to my child. As far as what's inside of it, I had a wonderful illustrator put this together. I'll give her a plug. That's Pam Delaney. Pamela from Delaney Designs up in New Hampshire. And she did such a nice job with some of the illustrations and whatnot. This is the first chapter, or one of the first chapters, where Frankie finds himself in a puppy store, and there's another little puppy who's all scared, and they make friends. Frankie helps her to not be scared, and then she returns the favor later and helps him find his forever home. And that's really the foundation of being of forming a friendship. I did my first public reading at the Baltimore Ronald McDonald House. I have read to kindergarten classes and 3rd grade classes, and I'll ask them, okay, well, which chapter was about, coping with something new or coping with change? Which chapter was about making a friend? And the kids get it. They're like, oh, well, the chapter of the pet store, that was about making a friend because they did this and they did that. So getting the feedback from the children is wonderful. Getting feedback from adults is wonderful as well. There was a review on Amazon that said, hey, this is more than just a book about a cute little dog. This book actually is a parenting tool. It brings up talking points. What Frankie goes through, my kid is going through right now. So I could I could read them the story or read them a chapter about it, and then have a conversation about what's going on in his life. And it helps, break down that shell and form those bonds of communication between parent and child that are so necessary. Mm-hmm. And frankly, becoming more difficult with every passing day, because as any parent knows, we live in the information age, and, getting your child off of their computer and off of their cell phone is a struggle, just to do that and have a conversation and have their attention. Another teacher had mentioned, the kids love hearing about Frankie's adventures as a bonus, they don't even know that they're learning life lessons as I'm reading to them. So there's a lot of things about it. And then I think the bonus chapter, Halloween is coming up. And the bonus chapter is based on a true story. We talked about that a little bit earlier, about, Frankie taking a trip and meeting his friend and, in the next world and guiding him through the next world. It's loosely based on a episode of the original Twilight Zone called The Hunt. And a little bit of my Christian upbringing comes through on that one, because as they're walking down Eternity Road, they find that the road to heaven is a little more difficult than the road to the other place. And Frankie's there with them the whole way. So it's a really interesting story. It'll make you think, it'll make you laugh, it might make you cry a little bit, but it'll make you be a little bit closer to your child. And, as I've said to people so many times in the past, no matter how much we love our dogs, they always love us a little bit more. And one other thing that I wanted to mention before we finish up, I don't know where we're at, but I've got big plans for Frankie. I am looking to turn him into an animated children's movie feature. And for legal reasons, I can't say a whole lot, but I have rewritten a very famous rock and roll song from the point of view of a dog. And we're going to be talking to that artist at some point, seeing if they would like to play a dog in a movie, just like Louis Prima played a monkey in Jungle Book. And it was part of his enduring legacy long after he's gone. He's always going to be King Louis from Jungle Book. Well, this person just might be whoever in Frankie the Biggest Dog That Ever Was. Because we live in a time now where courage and kindness and teaching our children how to do right by themselves and how to do right by others has never been more important. And if I could be a person who can help facilitate that, then the life that I've lived in this world has been my time has been well spent.
Joe, the different messages that you talk about in your book, we were talking in the PR from the Heart Green Room about how, a lot of children's books might just cover one message, and there's nothing wrong with that, because I feel that each children's book that is written is needed out in the world, because little ones are always moving through one thing or another, whether it be their parents are going through a divorce, they're struggling with learning to love themselves, they want to learn to be kinder to their friends, they're learning to embrace their own uniqueness and individuality, and to have that be the case for their other fellow friends and neighbors in the process. But whether it be teaching kids how to find their courage, and as I always like to say, to connect with their courage, how to make friends, how to love, how to cope with change, how to deal with bullies, how to know what others don't, how to brave, and how to say goodbye. Like, those are some, when I think this is I just want to ask a couple other follow-ups too, before we wind down this trolley stop together. In terms of sharing these messages, I mean, it takes a very brave soul. It takes a very special person to be able to say, okay, not only am I going to write a children's book talking about my dog who meant the world to me in many ways, shapes, or form, but you're really diving deep into many messages that some people might be afraid to talk about, or might just kind of talk about very, very briefly. Could you share why that was very much on your heart to be able to integrate all of this into Frankie?
This has been a journey, John. And early into the journey, I did a writer's retreat with the people who do, up in Carbondale, Pennsylvania. The children's magazine that comes out.
Parents. Highlights. There we go.
Highlights, yes, the Highlights people. So I met with some of the leading children's authors as my mentors. Don Tate was my particular mentor, but they all had a commonality message. They said, if you're going to write, leave your heart on the page. That was the message. So Jordan, my daughter, did 3 of the illustrations. She was 3 years old when Frankie passed. So part of the reason for writing the book was so that she would have a memory of her dog. But more than that, my wife was nearly 45 years old when she delivered our child. Okay. And there's a lot of conversations that I had with doctors. The odds of this or that, the odds of heart damage or this, the odds of whatever. Pick a child's ailment. They're pretty, it's a sobering conversation. And somebody else was at the controls, and Jordan came out perfect with a head of hair, and she was beautiful from day one. People say, geez, your daughter looks just like you. And I said, I was never that cute a day in my life. No, just not that much. But my heart goes out to the parents of kids at St. Jude's and Hershey Medical Center. And I'd mentioned Children's National Hospital in DC, because there's a lot of things that could go wrong. And as I talked to my friend Tommy Alexander, who has been a wonderful help on this as well, I said, Tom, I'm not a surgeon, I'm not a doctor, I'm not working for a pharmaceutical company trying to come up with a cure for whatever. I'm not even the guy who mops the floor at the hospital. But if I could have a book, have a story, have a little doll of Frankie that you could squeeze, like a little teddy bear, you could hold his, you could feel his heartbeat, you could squeeze his paw, you'd have little messages from this book, if I'm here, then I have no fear, and be able to offer that to children who might be facing a medical procedure or surgery or something like that. If I could quiet their fear and the fear of their family, that puts me on the playing field. That's where I want to be. I don't need a whole lot of materialistic things. I want to make the world a better place. I want to be remembered as a good person. I want my child to remember this and the experience. She's going to be helping me along. She's already helped me do a video for the song that we were talking about. And we're going to start putting together a trailer and talking to some people, and with the help of PR from the heart. Hockey players have a saying. They say 100% of the shots not taken don't score. And then there's another saying, every bold idea is crazy until it's not. And Denzel Washington, I mentioned him earlier, some of the sayings that I got from him, he said something to the effect of, when you're dying, are you going to look up from your deathbed and see the ghosts of all the wonderful thoughts and all the dreams that you had that you did nothing with? Are they going to be angry with you? And I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to have any regrets. If this is my mission and this is my vehicle, I'm taking my mission seriously, and I'm going to do everything I can. And we're going to find a way to get the message out to the masses. And who knows, maybe I'll write another book about a dog someday. But for right now, Frankie's it. So yeah, again, it's www.dogsaregoodpeople.com, but the R is just the letter R, like rough.
Yes, and so it's not the A-R-E variety, it's just the letter R in itself. We're beginning to wind down our time with our featured guest here on episode number 159 of the Children's Book Spotlight Series, as we conclude our month-long celebration of the 4-year anniversary of this very program that we've been blessed to host since 2018. Joe Wateski joining us, the author of the brand new children's book, Frankie, the Biggest Dog There Ever Was, as we already had alluded to and mentioned several times. You can head on over to Dogs Are, the letter R, goodpeople.com. You can also head on over to Amazon.com if that's your preferred online vehicle of your choosing. While there, you can leave a 5-star review if you feel guided to do so, as that's one of the many ways you can pledge your support for Joe to let him know that he is doing wonderful and much needed work for children, parents, families, educators, those who love great children's books, and those who have a very, very, very special place in their hearts for their furry friends in the process. Joe, one of the things that you also talk about, I remember as a child, I think it was 1990, I watched the movie All Dogs Go to Heaven for the first time by Don Bluth, who also did An American Tail, which was one of my favorite movies growing up as a kid. That was actually one of my earliest memories of going to the movie theater, was watching Fievel Mouskowitz losing his family and then finding and being reconnected back to his family. I do believe that all dogs go to heaven. I do believe that when our time on this earthly plane is complete, that, any special furry friend that you had a wonderful relationship with. I know that 2 of my dogs that I had growing up, I really connected with. One was Scotty and one was Hunter. And I think I shared this experience one time previously. It might have been through one of our Unity of El Cajon story time with Mr. John episodes presented by PR from the Heart. But I remember after I had moved out from my my family's house, and I was already on my own for a little bit at that particular point in time. I had found out that my dog that I remember spending some time with, Hunter, was not feeling well and hadn't been well for a while, and the time had come where he was going to be, put to sleep. And it was interesting because at that point in time, I was moving through some very challenging times. And I remember what ended up happening the night before Hunter transitioned. It literally felt like Hunter was speaking to me, Hunter's spirit saying, I need you to be with me at the vet's office tomorrow when I'm put to sleep. Now, bear in mind, Joe, I didn't know the name of the vet's office, let alone where they were located. But long story short is that somehow I managed to find out that information, get to the vet's office literally as my father and Hunter were walking in together. And I literally felt it was Hunter's way of saying, I need you to be there for me when I pass, when I transition. And I held Hunter's paw as life moved through the body. And it was one of the, I cannot even put that feeling into words because I've never been with someone, human or animal, when they have passed. Just being in the same presence, the same room. And it was one of the most heart-wrenching, gut-wrenching, but beautiful experiences, like all the range of the human emotions and feelings. And it was just so beautiful. And that's something that's still like nearly, close to 10 years later, around that, still really strikes a chord with me. There are many, many children, parents, families, people that are just single and they just have a dog because that's their soulmate, that's their companion, who are in the process of either getting ready to put their dog to rest, to sleep, or recently had one transition. We always like to begin to wind down our children's book spotlight series episodes by providing some tangible information. What are some words of encouragement and support that you'd like to share with those of our listeners and viewers, our friends and neighbors, and of course our fellow shining stars who are going through the grieving process right now, so that they know that the memories of their furry friend will never die? As we like to say, that love never dies, it only changes form. What would be some words of encouragement and support that you'd like to share?
Well, I watched my father die, and I was with Frankie when he passed. The thing with Frankie, and I mentioned this in the book, when I was taking him for his last ride, we had stopped at a park. And I was going to, let him enjoy the park one last time. And he gets out and he only takes a couple of steps. And then he looks up at me as if to say, Joe, we both know where we're going. Let's get on with it. So a couple minutes later, we're at the vet's office and he knows the building. And usually he doesn't want to go in because he knows the building. It's the vet, right? Well, this day, as weak as he was, he jumped up on the sidewalk and waited for me to open the door. And he walked in without a care. And, I can only hope that when the time comes for my soul to leave this world, that I could face the moment with the same courage, dignity, and grace as my big dog did. And I said earlier, you could learn a lot from a dog. And the book is about courage and kindness. Don't be scared to leave this world for the next. For one thing, your dog will be there waiting for you. And so will a lot of other people that loved you before they, that left before you did too. The universe is connected, at least I believe that. And I think the dog, Frankie, helped me to realize that a little bit more. And, again, he's like, I'm going to go from here to there. I'm just going to walk through a door and I'm going to be from here to there. And the people that have lost a dog, number one, don't feel sad about feeling sad, because it's a hard thing to do, to lose the dog. And we had talked about that, and I don't want to go too much further into it. And don't be too surprised if you're in your house by yourself, or you're at work in your office by yourself and you think you see the dog out of the corner of your eye. Don't be too surprised if you're in a house that's quiet and you hear the dog's footprints or going across the kitchen floor. Everybody goes through that. They stay with you. And maybe the reason for that is because they miss you too. One other thing I did want to mention, again, Amazon is a wonderful platform. Everybody's got Amazon, accounts and whatnot. Invite you to go there. The reviews are wonderful. But if you go to the website, www.dogsaregoodpeople.com, I'm happy to personalize that book for you and sign that book and dedicate it to a child as if you were giving it. And there's a lot of people that are pregnant and having babies right now, and it makes a really nice gift. Christmas is coming up.
It's true.
You may find yourself buying one for another person, and this is one of those books that you'll open up just to check it out before you give it away. It's like, all right, well, I got to give that to this person because that's what I bought it for. They're already signed for the child. I'm going to buy one for myself too. It's a kid's book, but we're all kids.
We are all kids at heart. Joe,
and you're going to go through loss at some point, whatever it might be, whoever it might be, and the sentiment is the same. If they loved you, pass that love on to someone else, and in a way, they stay with you.
That is oh so important, especially as of right now. There is no doubt that I really feel that life is like a school. And sometimes people think that we go to school like preschool, kindergarten, all the way through 8th grade, then we go to high school, then we go to college, and then if you go for your master's, doctors go for further academia beyond the scope of that. But each and every day when we walk this earthly plane, we learn. It is called Earth School, I feel. Some people call it life school. Some people call it school Earth. I call it Earth School. Undoubtedly, Frankie taught you a lot about life. And I'm curious to know what, as you reflect on this experience of putting the book together and now sharing it with the world, what are some of the things that Frankie, your dog, and the book taught you about yourself and taught you about life?
Ooh. John, I'm still learning. It's not like I'm there. It's not like because I wrote and read the book 1,000 times that I know everything. I'm still learning myself. I guess, the fact that life is temporary. You might be having a difficult day someday, and some days seem permanent, but they're really not. But life is temporary. And I think, I forget who quoted it, but they said, the cruelest thing that God ever did to us was to give us the perfect companion, but not allow them to live as long as we do. And maybe there's some truth to that. But, there was another little girl that said the reason that dogs don't live as long as we do is because they came here already knowing how to love someone else. We spend half our lives trying to figure out how to love someone else. We're halfway through by the time we figure that out. Dogs already come with that. So, you can take from it what you will. But yeah, I'm still learning. It's a process. It's a process every day. And, I'm very blessed to have my family, my daughter, my wife. Without their encouragement, without their support, I would never have gotten this far.
We had alluded to several times during the course of our trolley stop here this week on the Children's Book Spotlight series. One of our biggest sources of inspiration with PR from the Heart is the late Fred Rogers, again, the host of the long-running children's television program, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, and a little tip of the cap to our favorite neighbor, Mr. Rogers. Several times in his life, it was actually many times, not only during his episodes on the neighborhood, but when he spoke at various college commencement speeches or talks all across the country, most notably when he received his Lifetime Achievement Award at the Daytime Emmy shortly before he passed from stomach cancer. He always encouraged us, and he kept the time, Joe, whether it be 15 seconds, 30 seconds, or a full minute. He encouraged us to remember those who helped love us into being. And that was his way of having us to just be still, be present, and reflect on those people who believed in us, who reminded us, who encouraged us to connect with the courage, the love that lies within us, and to be able to share it with our fellow neighbors in the process. Who are some of those people, and even, I guess you could call them animals as well, too, who are some of those special souls in your life, whether it be that are here presently with you or who are in heaven, that you would like to publicly recognize here on episode number 159 of the Children's Book Spotlight series that helped love you, Joe Wateski, into being?
Hey, first and foremost, my beautiful wife of 25 years, Michelle, and our beautiful daughter, Jordan, who's going to be 11 next month, who helped to illustrate it, who's still helping me with it now. And marriage and anything else, it's like anything else in life. You got to put something in before you can take something out. You got to put seeds into the ground before you can start growing corn and, take anything out of it. That's just how it works.
Yep.
So, those are two people that come to mind. My sisters, Kathy, Madeline, and Lorraine, have all been very supportive. I mentioned Tommy Alexander, my friend from way back when in high school. Tom is the most creative person I've ever known in my life. He's a multi-instrumentalist, very successful. He helped put together the music that became the Frankie video on his website. Other people, who have helped me along the way. He had a voiceover person. I forget her name now. My goodness. I don't know. But a lot of other people, I've had some really good mentors, Jack Smoke, Donnie Lala, and, the people that I work with now. Because I'm kind of obsessed. So, if you know me, you've probably heard 15,000 times that I wrote a book and I'm doing this and I'm doing this with the book, and because it does become a mission. And, the people that are putting up with you, maybe they see something in you that you might not even be able to see in yourself sometimes.
The way that we always put the bow on each children's book Spotlight series episode, Joe, we go back to one of our favorite Disney animated classics of all time. I really believe that we have the ability to bring to form and shape that which our heart desires and longs for. Goals, dreams, desires, ambitions. We have the abilities to do that for ourselves, and we have the abilities to bring wishes to life for our family, our friends, our loved ones, our fellow neighbors, those who we're blessed to love and to serve in the process. So we go back to the year 1992. It was a great year. I believe I was 11 years old, if I'm not mistaken, at that point in time. We go back to the Genie of the Lamp. We go back to the late Robin Williams. We go back to Disney's Aladdin, and that has always inspired. This Genie lamp has traveled a very large distance over these many years. So this is the segment that we appropriately call Three Wishes. So, Joe, this is not just any old Genie lamp. You are being given three wishes on episode number 159 of the children's book Spotlight series. So you have given so freely from your heart, not only to your family, but to children, parents, families, educators, those who love great children's books, those who have a strong connection to dogs, not only in the Baltimore, D.C. area, not only across the country, but all around the world. So you're being given three wishes. What would those three wishes be?
Well, I didn't know this interview was going to be this hard.
Sometimes when people hear that last question, they're like, hey, I thought I was just coming on to talk about my book. And all of a sudden, like, I'm getting three wishes. This is, in the words of Marty McFly from Back to the Future, Doc, this is pretty heavy.
Yes, it is.
But in a good way.
I would like to be a successful author who has an opportunity, like I said earlier, to visit with families and children who are facing different types of health-related challenges. To be able to have the financial means to do that, to be able to travel and travel safely and be an influence one family at a time to people who really need it. I'd like an opportunity to visit schools, which I'm already doing, to talk to kids about a variety of different topics, things that make them scared. And why are you scared? I mean, Frankie's chapter when he's in the pet store, he sees the dog is scared. He's scared. I'm scared. What are you scared of? Well, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to think. Fine. Don't do anything. Don't think anything. We have a tendency in this world to overthink things, and we live in a world where we're on that hamster wheel and we're running and we're multitasking ourselves, and to what end? Stop and be like the dog. Enjoy that sunset. That's why I took my family to the ocean yesterday. The ocean is constantly in motion, and it's consistent yet constantly in motion, just like life itself. And embrace those moments and just slow down for a little bit. You're going to be in and out of this world before you know it. Be part of the solution. Be part of somebody, that you inspired somebody. I never told this story before, and I'll try to be real quick about it. couple of years ago, in my regular daytime job, I had come across a man, and I'm doing my job, and this man is just berating himself. He's beating himself up. Oh, I'm so stupid. I can't believe I did that. How did I do that? I forgot again or whatever. And I come to find out that the man's wife had passed about 6 months previous to that. She died in the same couch that I was in. And I mentioned that I had a book, and he went to the internet while I was doing my job. He's like, yeah, geez, if I had $20, I'd like to buy a copy of this book. And he had a little dog. And, I called him back a couple of days later. I said, and I'm not going to use his name. I said, you need the book more than I need the $20. I'm just going to send this to you. Just do me a favor and read it. And I call him back about a week or two later. I said, did you get the book? Yeah, I got the book. Did you read the book? Yeah, I read the book. And he says like that. And I said, well, what's up? I said, what's going on? He said, well, I was in a bad place. And I miss my wife. And I'm looking at my dog, and I'm in a bad place, and the walls are coming in on me. And he starts opening the book, and he reads the book a little bit. He goes from one page to another, and he goes from one chapter to another, and he looks down at his dog. He says, if that little dog can be brave, I can be brave too. And my book got him through a hard moment. I can't put a price on that. So right off the bat, I did something good. So, you're on a journey, and the journey seems impossible. And yet every now and then you get those little messages that say, you're doing this. You're on the right path. Just keep doing what you're doing. And one of the things that I came up with for myself was, do you believe you would have gotten this far if it were not your destiny to do so? And I'd like to share that thought with everybody who's listening here, because everybody's got their challenges, and everybody's got, I don't think I could do this. And you've already gotten this far. Maybe it's your destiny. Stay the course. Believe in yourself from the start. Believe in the magic in your heart. Believe that you can make your dreams come true so that others will believe in you. And that's the message of Frankie.
This has been a very, sometimes you want to put the experience of something into words and you can't find the words, but I'll do the very best that I can and say, raise your hand if you have had fun on episode number 159 of the Children's Book Spotlight series. This has been a magical trolley stop. And even though we are officially concluding the celebration of our 4-year anniversary here this week to wind down the month of September, fear not, because there are many more magical trolley stops to come on the Children's Book Spotlight series into the month of October, into our holiday season celebration. And sooner than we know it, we'll be turning the calendar, we'll be turning the year, so to speak, in 2023. So again, we encourage all of you, if this message has inspired you, if it's brought love and joy and peace and harmony into your heart, if it has brought some form of healing into your mind, to your heart, to your spirit, again, one of the many ways that you can pledge your support for PR from the Heart and also for Joe in the process is to subscribe if you haven't had the chance to do so to PR from the Heart's official YouTube channel. Share this very special trolley stop that has been episode number 159 of the Children's Book Spotlight series. If you are a children's author and you would love to share your inspiring story and the release of your brand new children's book, just like Joe actually did here with me this week on the program, we encourage you to head on over to our official website at prfromtheheart.com. You can also connect with us via any of our social media platforms that you now see on screen: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all at PR from the Heart. One tip of the cap to one of our favorite neighbors, you remember him and you love him, is the beloved Mr. McFeely. On the long-running children's television program, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, we know him and we love him as David Newell. We just had an amazing experience. The trolley traveled across the country from San Diego to Pittsburgh to record episode number 19 of the Neighborly Reviews bookcast with our friends and neighbors at the Center for Media Innovation on the campus of Point Park University in downtown Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. That is now available. So if you haven't had the opportunities to do so, enjoy episode number 19 in the Neighborly Reviews bookcast, where David and I feature Teresa Smith Hickman's brand new children's book, I Can, ... Just Try, and Jeanette Crystal Bradley's award-winning children's book, The First 12 Days a preschool, such a wonderful experience. So if you are a children's author and would like for David and I to be able to share your brand new children's book on a forthcoming edition of the Neighborly Reviews Bookcast, you know where to connect with us at prfromtheheart.com or any of our social media platforms on screen. Little sneak preview, David and I will be diving into the pages of Frankie, the Biggest Dog There Ever Was as part of the October edition of the PR from the Heart Neighborly Reviews Bookcast as well. So you haven't seen the last of Frankie, not by a long shot, here with PR from the Heart. And if you are a children's author and would like to be able to get your message out there, not only leading into the holiday season, but if you are making your plans for 2023 and you need dedicated PR support to be able to share your inspiring story and the release of your brand new children's book through the media all across the country, let us see how we can be of service to you. You can schedule your courtesy connection call by heading on over to our official website, prfromtheheart.com. You can learn about more information on how we can facilitate a featured television interview in a city or cities of your choosing, how you can create a book media tour in a city of your choosing, and for more information on our children's book spotlight series, the PR from the Heart Neighborly Reviews Bookcast, and of course, exciting details to come about Empowering Reads for Kids, the official television book review segment of PR from the Heart here in the beautiful city of San Diego. One final time, we encourage all of you, our listeners and viewers, our friends and neighbors, and of course, we can't forget all about all of you, our fellow shining stars. You can head on over to Joe's official website, dogsaregoodpeople.com. That's dogs, the letter R, goodpeople.com. You can also head on over to Amazon.com if that's your preferred online vehicle of your choosing. After purchasing your copy of Frankie, the Biggest Dog There Ever Was, if you feel guided to do so, you can leave a 5-star review. That's one of the many ways that you can pledge your support for Joe to let him know that he's doing wonderful and much needed work for children, parents, families, educators, those who love great children's books, and those who have a very special connection in their hearts with their furry friends in the process. Also, to all teachers, principals, and librarians all across the country, you can schedule your official author visit with Joe in the process virtually, and he can be with you and your little ones, your students, anywhere in this beautiful country of ours by heading on over to Joe's official website in the process, because this is just, again, one of the many ways that you can bring love and joy into and healing into the hearts of your students as part of this brand new school year. As we hear the trolley, that means that it is time to go. So we want to thank all of you, especially over the course of this past month. Each and every time we celebrate the anniversary of the Children's Book Spotlight series in the 8+ years that we have been doing PR, and in the nearly 20 years that I've been doing interviews in different forms and incarnations, this has been such a gift to be able to share the inspiring stories of so many children's authors all across the country and all around the world. So we want to thank you for your support of PR from the Heart. We want to thank you for your support of this program, the Children's Book Spotlight series. Without you, there would be no us. We want to thank you for your continued support of children's authors and illustrators, just like Joe Wateski, who was kind of giving some of his free time this week, because again, they are providing much needed resources of care for children, parents, families, educators, and those who love great children's books. We want to thank you for your continued support of local libraries and children's and independent bookstores, truly the pillars of our community. And above all else, we want to thank you for helping us to walk home the children of the world. One final tip of the cap to one of our favorite neighbors, Mr. Rogers. In his own private numerology, he had 3 favorite numbers. That was 1, 4, 3. He reminded us each and every day on the neighborhood, which again ran for so many years, he reminded us of our worth and our inherent value, that we are worthy of receiving unconditional love and good things, that we're loved and we're special just the way that we are. Somehow Mr. Rogers weighed 143 pounds for his entire natural adult life. That was his way of saying, I love you. There's 1 letter in I, 4 letters in love, and 3 letters in you. As a little tip of the cap to Mr. Rogers. And of course, since Joe was kind enough to give us some of his free time this week, we like to share our favorite numbers, which are 2, 4, 3. There's 2 letters in we, 4 letters in love, 3 letters in you. That is our reminder that we love you. We remind you that you are loved, that you are special, that you are whole, that you are healthy, that you are complete, just the way that you are, that you have inherent worth, that you have value, and you are here to do amazing things. So again, for Joe Wateski, for myself, John Masiulionis, thank you for joining us and spending some quality time with us here in our neighborhood throughout this month-long celebration of the 4-year anniversary of the Children's Book Spotlight series. We will see all of you once again in the month of October and beyond for more magical trolley stops here at the Children's Book Spotlight series. But until then, thank you for helping us to walk home the children of the world, our fellow friends, our fellow neighbors, and our fellow shining stars. Goodbye for now.
Bye-bye.